afternoon, everyone. I hope you're well. I am just having to peel myself off the ceiling this week because it's TEDx on Friday and I'm absolutely freaking out, but also really excited. I'm also really excited because it's being filmed at McLaren, as in F1 McLaren cars. So I'm actually going to get to go on site to their Thought Leadership Centre and do it there. So it's like a double exciting day. I have got a great guest today. Not only because she's kind of like my friend, but she's also my accountant and I would call her, and I've said this to her face, she's my voice of reason that sits on my shoulder. Whenever I'm like going to think about spending some money, I'm always thinking, what would Rebecca say? She's a brilliant accountant. She's got loads of years of experience. She can tell us all about that. And we're going to talk about why you might need an accountant, what accountants can help you with, what kind of tools should you be using, if any, and we'd also love any questions that you've got as well. So without further ado, I will bring on the lady herself. Hello.
Hello. I like your video at the beginning.
Oh, thanks. Got to have a bit of Robbie on lip sync somewhere.
That's brilliant.
Yeah. So how are you?
I'm good, thanks. It's a busy
the finance world.
The finance world is busy. Everyone's getting back to normal, starting to get back their businesses going. People starting to open their wallets again, so that's good.
That is good news. So have you always been in finance, accountancy, or was it a calling for you, or was it something that you kind of fell into?
I wouldn't say it was a calling. Obviously, I did maths and I enjoyed it. And, everyone around you goes, oh, you like maths, you must be an accountant. So, kind of go, okay, yeah. I'll give it a go. And I kind of enjoyed it. And it's certainly not the role I thought it was when I started. It's not sitting in a cupboard playing with numbers, which would be amazing in some ways. It's much more client-facing, much more dynamic, much more playing with technology and trying to see what the next trends are. And yes, it was a very different role from the beginning.
Yeah, and you've got your own business now, but you did work for kind of like a large corporate before, I guess. So you've got like a whole rounded experience of working on all sides.
Yeah, and I did a lot more audit work then, so that was again a different thing. It was less owner managed. It was a lot more charity work and digging into processes and stuff. Which
oh my goodness,
it's interesting, but there's a lot of box ticking that goes with it, which can be a bit dull.
Yeah. And how long have you had your business now?
Oh, I think it's about 3.5, coming up 4 years, and it's scary how fast.
Yeah, because you set yours up not long after I set mine up, and we'd met when you were still at your old place. So yeah, we've known each other about 4 years. Because I'm coming up for my 4-year birthday as well. So I can't believe that. I know, it's crazy. So I guess as a small business, we met up like for years before I actually took you on as accountant, and for me it was like a cost thing. I just couldn't afford it, but like it is really important if you're running any business to have some kind of financial help, isn't it?
Yeah, no, it is, but also I think there aren't that many people that understand what it's like to run a business. Your friends don't understand, your parents, they all think you're crazy probably because you've walked away from a fairly reasonable job and you're going into this complete roller coaster and you just have to kind of get used to it. But to have people around you that understand what it's like and what it's like when you're having to go, I'm not sure I can make that bill there. How can I stretch it out? And it's just giving you those pieces of advice as another human being, as well as having that finance background.
Yeah, and I guess to me, accountants were always a bit scary because, well, numbers and finance scare me as well, so, but you've restored my faith in accountants. They're not all like, I guess I had the kind of old man, kind of old boys club kind of accountant vision, but it's not like that at all.
No, it's not. And I think even in the bigger firms where they try and pretend it's like that, they are not like that. The boring accountant, there are some, and they tend to be in tax, if I'm honest, but don't tell me. Because the job is different. The job, whether you're an auditor or you're doing kind of that small business accountancy, is in front of people all the time. So you have to be a people person, and you have to be able to communicate and get on with people. You can't just hide
That's a
really
great
behind the
point.
numbers.
Yeah.
And also our job is to explain the numbers and make them not scary, and try and kind of take people through the stories of how they get somewhere that they want to get to. So
It's not that different from like data storytelling, really. You send me some nice charts, and I can understand and relate to that, and I'm like, ooh, that looks good. But in terms of a range of services that you can offer or an accountant can offer, you know, what's like the basic stuff, and then what's the more complex stuff that goes on?
I think probably the most important ones is to get the bookkeeping right, because everything kind of falls off that real solid kind of grounding of the bookkeeping. Because if you don't know where you are now, it's very difficult to plan for the future. So it's getting that bookkeeping right and doing it in something that's making it as simple as possible, so you can pull the reports, look at the numbers, and go, where am I at any point? So that's where Xero is an amazing tool.
Yeah, that's what.
And then you bolt things onto the side to make that process easier. Yes,
Yeah.
you can do it in Excel, but I mean, you're in data cleansing. Yeah. The amount of spreadsheets I've ever seen that ever add up properly, probably not.
Yeah.
They're awful. And everyone thinks they know how to use Excel, and frankly, very few people do.
Actually, and just like Xero's a great backup, you know, it's like it's never going to get lost. Like it'll always be there somewhere.
Touch wood, it has always been.
Yeah. But yeah, it's it's really easy. I can see what's coming in and going out, and I just try and not use spreadsheets if you can, please. Like just get Xero. Like I used Xero before I had an accountant, which got me in some good practices. But also there's the accountants and there's bookkeepers, and then there's kind of the both. So what is the difference?
So a traditional bookkeeper, and I think things are changing to a certain extent, is someone that just literally kind of summarizes the bank. So they say how much is coming in, how much is going out. They may start looking at VAT returns, but again, this is where the two have kind of merged a little bit, because you've got some bookkeepers who will just do that very basic, and then some that kind of have got skilled up and tooled up and done exams or more experience, and they're doing the VAT returns, and then they may be doing the year-end accounting. And then you get into the accountant, but the accountant's more kind of the interpretation, looking forward, thinking, planning, that strategy side of things.
Yeah.
But you'll find that some accountants won't be able to do the bookkeeping, either because they don't enjoy it or just they don't understand it, because it is, unless you've done it for a while, there are some quirks, especially using Xero and things like that you just have to learn.
That's really interesting. And what are the other benefits of using something like, well, there's Xero, there's QuickBooks, there's Sage, but the one I kind of, before I chose Xero, you'd obviously told me about it, and then also I'd heard lots of other people talking about it. So is there a difference between them all? Is it better to have one of those than a spreadsheet?
Definitely better to have one of those than the spreadsheet. I mean, I would say that the leading ones are QuickBooks and Xero. It probably doesn't matter which one you use. I mean, there's certain industries that will work better in each. Yeah. So there's pros and cons to it, but those are the two that are really good. Sage apparently is getting better, and if you're a smaller business, it'll be Xero, QuickBooks. If you're a larger business, that's where you have more of a problem, because there isn't anything that good on the market, and you're getting into building your own bespoke software or SAP or type stuff. So there isn't really anyone that sits in that middle ground. No one seems to have really caught. And so Sage is supposed to be getting his act together. Whether it is or not, I don't know. It's not an area I work that much in.
Yeah.
There are things like Free Agent around, which personally I don't like. But it's all down to preference.
Yeah. I guess if it gets you to think about tracking things. So kind of what would you say are common issues or problems that clients might have when they first come to you, or new businesses might have?
They tend to leave it too late until it's that planning ahead piece. It's I think they try to bootstrap too long, and they don't kind of recognize that their time is really valuable. So actually spending 20-30 quid on a piece of software that saves you 2 hours of your time a month actually is really valuable. And it doesn't even compare. So, and then they leave it too late, and therefore when they're really busy, they haven't got time to then learn the software or at least learn the basics. So they've left it too late, and there's such a catch up. I think when people do their bookkeeping quarterly rather than trying to do it weekly or monthly, I think that always ends in a pickle, because you're not chasing your customers when they're not paying you. And if you haven't got cash coming through the door, you're going to struggle to pay your bills. So making sure that you're invoicing on time and you're chasing people and you're training your customers to pay you on time, because essentially it's up to you.
Payment is just fun. Cash flow.
Yeah, well, it is always. And if you can make it as easy as possible. I mean, if you're working with other small businesses, then things like GoCardless and stuff can make your life easier. But if you're working with bigger corporates, then it's harder, because you're going to have to deal with their departments that will only pay on a certain time after 60, 90 days. And whatever you do, that's not going to change.
Yeah, I've been there. So you just have to go with it. Hang on. We've got a message from Peter. Fun fact. Oh my goodness, Lotus 123. I don't know, Peter, you might be a bit late. I think Lotus is kind of gone and buried. I used that for my dissertation, the Lotus Notes. Not the email, but the Word. And then the university computers had Microsoft Word. So every time I took my floppy disks from home to the university and worked on the different machines, it would reformat everything. So every time I'd have to then fix it. Anyway, I digress.
Because I remember when I first started, we still had manual cash books, and we still had like disks that were being sent by clients to upload their Sage data. And the amount of times that disk was blank because it had been overwritten or it was corrupted in some way. So the cloud just changed everything. So that's why a lot of us love Xero, whatever, because you don't have the same problem.
Yeah.
You don't have to get your VAT return, getting it ready.
And those like bags of
bags of receipts as well. Yeah, no, a nightmare.
Oh my goodness. So what has changed and what hasn't changed since you started?
It feels like everything's changed. I think actually in some ways accountants are going back to the way they used to be, where they used to be much more like the center of a client, not world, but they used to be that trusted advisor, and they used to ask them more questions. But then it went into just doing compliance only, rather than helping them doing scenario planning, or can I afford this? Should I buy this car? What's the timing of things? And then for me, it's very much working on getting that personal and that business to work together, because I think sometimes that becomes disjointed. Whereas you've got the accountant that might be telling you what the corporation tax bill, but are they looking at what your personal tax bill and how it affects, and then how much money you've got to save for your later life, or for that trip you want, or that Robbie gig that you want to go to that costs a fortune.
That's happening next year. It's been rescheduled. Yeah.
But it's looking at people as an individual and saying, let's get that personal financial plan, and let's see what you need now and then later on, and then what do we need the business to then produce, rather than going, oops, this is what the business can give you, and this is the lifestyle you have as a result. Yeah. So it's kind of turning it around a little bit.
Yeah.
Lots of things have changed.
What about tax efficiencies? So there's been like loads of like tax avoidance schemes that have been pulled up recently, but I just got introduced, and I'd heard of it before. It's some kind of B2B trade card where you buy marketing from them and they give you like 80% back in points or something, and it just sounded like super dodgy.
I think anything that's too good to be true probably is.
And also, why would you want the points back thing? I was like, then I can only spend it where? Yeah,
what are you going to do with the points?
Yeah,
I would.
I think. That's kind of the rule I go by is, like, if it was legit, then HMRC or the Department of Revenue or whoever would be offering it to you. Wouldn't be a company that's making profit from it.
Yeah, I mean, there are some schemes. You know, maybe it's through childcare vouchers or something where you can buy like Sainsbury's vouchers and you get a discount or whatever.
Yeah.
But I think if the discount's more than 10 or 20%, then you've got to be questioning, is there another tax effect that you need to be picking up? But going back a few years, we saw all sorts of clients being sold all sorts of avoidance schemes, and the only people that made money out of it were the accountants and the people selling the products. So
yeah.
The amount of stress that the clients went through when they were being taken to court and going to tribunals and stuff, it's not fun. So
no, that doesn't sound good at all. So how can people like me avoid that then? Apart from like, if it's too good to be true, check with your accountant. And
I think, talk through. I think most people don't use the obvious. They don't, provide for their pension, because that's a really good way of saving tax. They don't, do the small salary dividend, or they don't plan it across years. So what they'll do is they'll do small salary and then a big salary. Sometimes you're better at spreading it over a number of years, and just looking at it, kind of. It's always got to be done case by case. There are lots of little things you can do. I think you do the obvious simple stuff and the vanilla stuff before you start worrying about, the VCTs or the EIS schemes or anything that's a little bit more risky.
Okay, so what's a VCT and an EIS?
Well, they're where you invest money in growing companies,
okay.
And then you get tax credits. But do the simple stuff first.
Yeah, that makes sense. And have you had any clients that have been so bad you've ever had to kind of let them go, or they just have been so bad with getting their things in on time and just an absolute nightmare? Or do you choose wisely?
Working for myself is a lot easier because you can choose who you work with and you can get a sense. Yeah, I do have clients that don't always behave, because that's real life.
I can't imagine you putting up with that though.
No, and I am reasonably strict, but equally, you have to be understanding that people are busy and they maybe don't have the same priorities. I think it's about training clients like with anyone else. The thing I can't stand is people that are rude, and and if they're rude to my team, then they are gone, because I won't tolerate that.
No, that's right. And if they are busy and they need to focus on one particular area as a priority, what should that be?
It's going to depend on the client. It's usually getting more sales in, Yeah. Usually.
Yeah. And so, I guess when you're planning out things for clients, I guess it is very much a case-by-case basis, and there's not like some three things you can do to plan ahead, or is there anything like that?
I think it helps to kind of, one, know where you are, know where you're going as well, where you want to be. Where do you want to be in a year, 3 years, 10 years, just roughly, because you won't get there. You'll go off on a tangent somewhere, it'll be bigger and better probably. So know where you're going. And then it's kind of just have a team around you, kind of go, well, I don't know about HR. Who can I go and speak to? I don't know about mortgages. Let's go and find someone. So it's having that team around you to help you, because you're not going to know everything.
No, definitely not.
And if you think you do, then you're probably in trouble.
Yeah, definitely. And actually, the whole staffing thing is a huge challenge in itself. And then, you've got your, I'm down the contractor route right now, but someday I'd like some employees. And so that all then comes with a whole range of different things that you have to think about, like payroll and taxes and all that good stuff.
Yeah, and whether you go down the employee or the contractor or a mix, there's a compromise in any of it, because if you've got an employee, you've got a bit more control, but it's probably going to cost you more.
Yeah.
But if you've got contractors, if the work doesn't come in, you've got no responsibility either.
Yeah.
But in real life, you probably do have a bit more responsibility than possibly on paper. But
yeah. So do you work across a number of industries? Do you see kind of the same thing across those industries, or do different industries have different problems?
Certainly at the moment, different industries have different problems.
Well, yeah. Oh, because you have some hospitality clients, don't you?
Yeah, on the fringes of they're not pubs and stuff, but yeah, kind of marquees and stuff. So yeah, I do have a range, but they tend to be people who want that crossover between the financial services, kind of the personal and the business. So therefore, I do go across industries, but they tend to be service industries rather than goods and products. And they tend to be businesses that work UK mainly, just because to offer that international aspect, you need quite a big crew to kind of deliver the VAT and the tax aspects of it. So that's quite difficult. Well, it's just me, but
yeah. Oh, I just completely had a mind block. That is what too much rehearsing for TED has done to me. What was I going to ask you? Oh, it was a really good question as well.
You're looking forward to doing TED?
I am. I just need a wee bit more practice. So every night I'll be.
You don't.
I feel comfortable because I've never written down a script. It's always just been up here. So yeah. Oh, it nearly came back to me there. Why? Oh, I had such a good question.
Come back to you later.
Yeah.
So what do you think is the most complicated bit of doing your business admin and finance?
So for me, it's that's what I was going to ask. I'll do it in a minute. I just have never been good at numbers, like terrible at maths, failed my higher maths, really struggled with economics and accounting at university. And so it's just like I get brain paralyzation whenever I just look at a number and it looks like a mathematical financy type thing. So finding someone that I trust to manage my finances and trust that they're doing right by me, I think is a big thing for me too. And that's kind of what my question was, is, how important is it to have a good relationship with your accountant?
Oh, it's absolutely everything. Because if you don't want to talk to them, it's pointless. Because anyone can pretty much do a tax return. Yeah, they might not be able to do the complicated bits, but you can fill numbers in boxes essentially. So if you're not going to talk to each other and work out what else can go on that tax return, how else can we save you money, or what could we plan differently next year around the business and around your personal.
If you don't know what's going on in the business, then it's hard for you to know the context of the numbers, I guess.
Exactly. And also, if I don't know what's going on in your personal life, to a certain extent, I don't need to know all the nitty gritty, but to have a rough idea of what are you looking to buy a house? Are you looking to go sailing the world or whatever in the next few years?
Yeah.
Those make those decisions are different. So therefore, if I don't know that, then it makes it very difficult to do that tax planning piece.
And I guess another thing is people might get stuck with accountants that maybe they don't necessarily like, but it's kind of like, utility bills. Once you're there, you kind of feel like it's too hard to swap. But is it hard? And have you had people come over and you've looked at their books and thought, my God?
Almost every time.
Wow.
The problem is, even though a lot of the other accountants are using digital software like Xero, they don't use it properly. They'll take the data and they'll go and play with it somewhere else, and then they'll produce a set of accounts. So Xero is not the true source of data. So I'm having to recreate what they've done.
Okay, yeah.
So it's a mess. And also they don't link that person, that business. So I'm looking at it going, oh, if you'd done that differently over a few years, or you'd done an R&D claim, you could have saved a lot of money.
Yeah.
But again, it's about having conversations with people, because they're not talking to the client. They haven't twigged, oh, you're doing that. That could be R&D, and therefore you could save them.
Yeah. That's really interesting. Wonder if I could do some R&D.
Probably good going forward.
I mean, I would love to be able to build the first classification tool, but we're just so far away from that right now. So that's going to be someone else's problem and someone else's money that can do that. But you never know, maybe one day.
Absolutely. It's definitely worth considering. Because also how you structure it. If you know that you're going to make an R&D claim, you look at how you structure it, and it might be that having employees might be more important at that point, because you might get a claim. So it's those sorts of things that you can plan around.
Yeah. And what other support is there for small businesses as well as like accountants? Like, is there many grants and stuff around, or like, I know there's a hub near me that kind of offers a bit of extra support. Do you kind of work with those, or are you aware of them, and are they worth it?
I think things like the LEP and are a little bit hit and miss. I think it depends on your area, and I think they have their own kind of network of advisors. So I think it's go to the LEP and see what was there, and there'll be different grants on different areas. And obviously, because we're all on borders around here, there's lots of different areas. So a lot of the councils are doing lots of grants at the moment. So there is money around, and if you're in kind of that digital space and that tech space, there is a lot of money around. It's just looking for it. Yeah. But there are groups that will help signpost that, whether it's Enterprise Nation or around us, we've got the Inspiration Space and things like that will help you find the money.
Yeah, that's interesting. And so how can people keep on top of their finances and accounting? I mean, I try to like check Xero once every day or every other day, just to go in and make sure it looks all right, and like things like check my bank account in case so nothing has gone missing that shouldn't have.
Well, exactly. There's things like that, but it also could be using a different bank. So things like Starling is amazing because you can see what's going in and out, and use spaces. I just love it.
You told me about them years ago, and I was so like, oh, I don't want to change accounts; it's too hard. And then set up for the new limited company, and like they approved it within days. I was set up and ready to go, and it's like so easy to bank with them. Compared to the older banks, it's just so refreshing.
It is, and using things like Spaces to make sure you save your corporation tax, your personal tax. You don't have to set up a bank account or do transfers. You're just flicking money.
Yeah. I've got some money sitting in a space, and I totally forgot about it. It's great. Exactly.
It's perfect.
Yeah, stick my VAT money in there. And I love that, like, I go into the app and my card is there, my card number. So I don't have to get a blooming card out of my wallet, wherever my bag is. I just go into the app and there's my card number. And I don't know why other banks don't do that.
I don't know. I mean, you can't open a bank account with any of the high street ones for about 3 months.
Okay. So Ganesh is in Revolut approves in minutes. So is that another? Do you know about them?
Yeah, Revolut, I don't think are actually got a banking license. So you have to be a little bit careful with some of these. I'm not saying for definite, but some of them don't. So if they were to go under, you need to watch how much money you've got in them, because you might not be covered by the government scheme. So that and Tide, I don't think have banking licenses in the UK.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so you do have to be a little bit careful.
Because someone else I know recently, she was trying to get a client in the US, and I think she just opened a new bank account with Tide, but couldn't do US business or something. Oh, she lost a client because she couldn't find a way to get a payment from them.
Oh dear. Well, Revolut would do that definitely. It's just maybe don't keep large amounts in those sorts of accounts.
Yeah, that's a good tip. I didn't even realize that you could be a bank and not have a license. Or well, I guess they're not called banks, are they? Yeah. Wow, that's a big kind of.
But that's not a reason not to use them. It's just don't keep huge amounts of cash in them. Yeah. Just make sure you spread it about a bit. That's totally opened my eyes. Did not realize that at all. That's why I have you, to keep me on the straight and narrow. I will check that fact, but they didn't used to have a banking license, and I did use Tide for a while, and they didn't at the time as well.
Yeah,
which did put me off a little bit.
Yeah, the thing that still bugs me about Xero, and I know you're going to laugh at this because you don't think it's important, but I think it is. They don't make nice invoice templates readily available.
You can do it. It's just you have to get the Word docs, and it's horrible.
I know you can, but they should make it easier. I want a pretty invoice. I really hate the
I'm
invoice.
really glad they don't, if I'm honest, because it means, no, that's what you're getting and you're going to use it.
That's just me then.
No, you can go in and do it and mess with it, but
yeah, no, Peter's saying you need to have a US account to accept US transfers, but I've done business with clients in the US and they transfer money to me. It's fine. And I invoice in dollars.
I've got clients using Revolut, US bank account.
And I guess with the world getting more global, certainly from my point of view, you know, I didn't really imagine at the start that I'd have so many overseas clients. Does that cause issues, or are there things to watch out for when you're not doing business in your home country?
I think you need to think about who's in your team. So I think you need to think, especially the US like to get their pound of flesh. So I've got one client that she's had to do loads of back tax returns because she was born in the US, stayed there as a baby for about a week, and they were still after tax returns. Because she went for a mortgage and HSB kind of went through it and it's cost her a fortune to try and get out of that regime, basically. But it's then looking at getting international tax specialists involved and looking at the VAT issues and things like that.
One of our data friends, Christina Strathopoulos, I can't say her name, it's very wordy. She has lived in Spain as a native now for a number of years. She moved away from the US, but she still has to file taxes every year. She did a post about it recently because it was like, she's like, why do I have to pay them? I don't even live here. It sounds tough.
But it gets complicated because you're getting into all the individual countries have different rules, but then there are different agreements between those countries and the UK. And then it gets messy. So you need a specialist, not me, basically.
Yeah. I have filled in a number of W-8 forms, hoping that I've ticked the right boxes. So let's see. La la la. You'll be fine. So, I mean, you're a small business yourself. So, you know, how have you found the last few years as a small business? I think maybe that helps you, because if your clients are small businesses, then you understand really well.
I think if we go pre-COVID, it was an interesting journey. I mean, I walked out on a decent salary and started from scratch with no clients, and it was really exciting for the first 6 months as the phone kept ringing. Can I be your client? Can I be your client? And then it goes a bit quiet. And you have to just kind of learn that there's a rhythm to it, you know, especially because of tax returns and deadlines. And so you just have to learn that in March and April, it will probably get busy. And in January, it'll probably get busy. In December, actually, it tends to. People panic before Christmas. But then it goes radio silence for 3 weeks and no one wants to do anything. August, no one wants to do anything.
Yeah, I think that's just worldwide.
Yeah, I think so. So it's just understanding those rhythms and I think I'm quite lucky in the sense that clients tend to come back, so I can put them on retainer. So I've got a certain amount of kind of, I can see them where the money's going to come from for the next few months.
Yeah.
Whereas a lot of people won't be able to do that. So it's easy. I'm always trying to get money in. COVID world, well, that was a different one. That was, everything went crazy. And I couldn't necessarily charge anymore for it. I just had to be there for everyone and just see where it went. And emotionally, you feel really responsible for all your babies. And there's nothing you can do. And you can't comfort anyone because you don't know what's going to happen any more than anyone else does.
Yeah.
So, no, that was tough. But boy for it.
So. They'll thank you for it down the road. Laura Hicks is on. So hi Laura. So she's one of my consultancy buddies. So she's like an interim FD.
Okay.
So she's a financy lady. And she did a post the other day around the difference between a finance director and a finance controller. And so, like, at what point do you need to start thinking about getting those kind of people in your business? And what do they do different from something that you would do?
I I mean, there is going to be a little bit of crossover. I mean, I don't want to be an FD. It's far too much like a job, as far as I'm concerned. I'd rather have lots of clients and lots of variety rather than maybe 4 or 5 key clients. They're doing more of the strategy, they're more the day-to-day. They're working more hours in the business. They know it in more depth, and they're going to start doing more kind of project management. So you're going to know what the margins on individual projects are. So they're going to set up more of that systems and processes. Whereas, with an external account, there's only so much you can do because there's only so many. Yes, it depends how much you need someone working in the business.
Yeah, I think for me, it's really hard because I'm not selling the same service each time. Like you, each client is different, and so each project is different, and so even if I made obviously I'd like to know if I made a loss, but it's not like I could improve the margin on the next project because the next project will be completely different.
There is going to come a point where you need someone to do like full-on daily, weekly cash flow forecasting.
Yeah.
Which is kind of in the more the realms of the FCFD kind of role, where they're telling you, or they're even doing the payments for you. They're sorting out the staff for you. They're doing more of that kind of day-to-day stuff.
Good,
yeah, but they're going to be expensive.
Yeah. Mixed rates, Laura? Yeah. I mean, it's hard to think I'll need something at that point, but yeah, who knows where I'll be in another year. It's crazy.
If you're there, then that's amazing.
Yeah, I couldn't have imagined.
Business as well, then you'll need one because you won't be able to keep up if you're going.
Yeah, well, I mean, you've been with me from the start. We've had so many conversations where I've been like, I don't know how much longer I can keep going, and then suddenly, like in a year, it's just gone poof. So yeah, but I think I always have that fear of not having the next project come in, although it always inevitably does. I guess that never really goes.
I don't think it will.
No, probably not. So if someone's watching today and they're not even using the spreadsheet, they're just looking at their bank account, and they just get to the year end to do their self-assessment or their tax, and they just have a big pile of work, what could they do to get started to improve that situation?
You just crack open Xero or equivalent and just get that year's data into a software.
Yeah.
That's probably the start, because that's a really good way of practicing how to do it all.
Mm-hmm.
Because then you've got data to play with. You can set up the invoices. You could scan them in, but we can set it up, and you can see, and then you can learn how you code things and that side of things, and just get going with it.
Or I just email it.
Yeah.
To you, and it gets done. It's amazing.
With the magic software in the background.
Yeah. Oh, it's fab. It's absolutely brilliant, and really just it's not that I can't set up an invoice on Xero, but it just all adds up into time that is sucking me away from other stuff. So it just makes such a difference.
Yeah, no, you don't want to be adding things manually. The more that can be automated, and as long as the automation is getting it right most of the time,
then
tidy the rest up.
Yeah, no, it's cool. So, what about people, like the future of accounting? Do you think it's going to change some more?
Yeah, I think it will. I think we're going to see more and more of the lower level jobs being done by the software, because I know Xero is certainly working on automatic coding, so there will be no coding coming through. I can't see that we're going to have invoices flying around in a physical form for very much longer. I think, you've already got Xero to Xero that will do it to a certain extent, but I think wherever you buy something, it's going to link through, and it will go through. So that whole manual data entry or using Receipt Bank or auto entry, that will probably disappear. It will probably just happen almost automatically in the background, which I'm sure will cause a whole mountain of other problems. But that side of things, I think the bank feeds will get better. They're always a bit twitchy, and credit cards are always a bit of a nightmare.
I've noticed a huge difference between my two bank feeds. One of them is much better than the other. So
I wonder which one.
Yeah.
No, I think you're going to see things. I mean, Starling is just kicking the backside of everyone else at the moment. So I think, you're going to see things like that. I think the bookkeepers will upskill themselves, and then we'll start treading more and more on the toes of the accountants, and who are going to have to decide what they want to do, whether they're just going to do compliance and hide in a cupboard, or whether they're really going to do that strategy piece, which they're supposed to be doing.
Yeah, and that's kind of a bit of a that's not how I thought of accountants before, but I can see that's the way that they need to go.
And also, I think the clients don't want this silo kind of approach. They want someone that does that whole round piece, because, well, you're a whole person. You want to be dealt with.
Yeah, and actually,
not just little bits that we feel like, and then we don't talk to the other people that do the other bit. It just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, it's right, because my personal stuff will affect the business stuff, and vice versa. And and I really need to start thinking about pensions and stuff. Got to get myself sorted there.
So grown up.
Oh, well, I mean, at least I have some. I haven't paid in for a number of years, but at least I've got something. I did start paying into one at 21, so I did have the sense to do that. But yeah, it becomes all very grown up and sensible.
Not that grown up, I'm sure.
No, probably not. But yeah, no, I definitely would recommend anyone getting an accountant. It just takes the pressure off. It just makes life easier. And yeah, we're going to be sitting down in a couple of months and doing some future planning and strategy and things, which is quite exciting. Just waiting on a bit more data. And actually, this conversation's really made me realize how actually similar the finance and data world can be, with broken spreadsheets and all that kind of stuff. And the coding that happens in Xero, that's not too different from classification. It's just more of a basic level and a bit easier to do. But yeah, it's we're not worlds apart. But yeah, I look at the financy stuff and just go, freeze. I can't do it. It's so bizarre.
You really should, because it is just adding up. Yeah. You don't need a maths degree to do it. It's like adding and taking away, and occasionally we do a bit of dividing and some percentages. It's like it's really not complicated.
Yeah. So just checking if anyone has any questions or comments for Rebecca before we wind this up. If you want to tell everyone where they can find you, where's the best place to...
I would say down the pub as they're all open, but that's not true. I don't think I've been a pub in a long time.
We have to meet up soon, like actual real face-to-face meeting.
Oh, I don't know if I can cope with that. Getting out my cupboard.
I know, get out of the den.
LinkedIn's a good place, or on my website, which is switchfootaccounting.co.uk. There's a discovery call that you can book if anyone wants to have a chat. Yeah, those are the best places, I'd say.
Peter's just saying that his daughter's going down the pensions route. Yeah,
exactly.
I think I was watching the Truth About Money or something on Netflix, and they covered a whole one about 401ks and stuff in the US, where people are going to have a massive shortfall. And you've got another arm to your business as well. And I've spoken to your partner, Seb, about planning for pensions and stuff. And that kind of freaked me out a little bit, because, he was saying, don't you need to plan to die at 100 now and have enough money to cover you for all that time. And I'm like, what? That just what? I am,
I was having a funny conversation with a client the other day, and they said, but can't you just do it for me, build the plan? He said, yeah, but you're going to have a boat in there and you'll be going to sail the world. If you want what you actually want in your financial plan, you need to be part of this.
Yeah.
But it's starting early and just a small amount, get in the habit. I mean, I was listening to an economist the other day, and they were saying some of the kind of under 30s where they haven't been able to go out or go on holiday, they've actually started saving because the savings have got to an amount that feels like something's worth saving. It becomes a habit because it's now kind of growing. And so hopefully people are going to kind of have that habit a bit more rather than, always out partying. Because at some point that gets boring.
Yeah. Quick one on investments.
Yeah.
I guess pensions are pretty much like investments now and stuff, but are they worth looking at as well, or is that just a personal preference?
I think it's go through the financial plan and work out what's for you. Because I think the good thing about pension, especially if you're in a corporate environment, is you're saving corporation tax.
Yeah.
But there's no point, accumulating pension if you don't need it or want it or whatever. So it's working out what's right for you.
Who doesn't need a pension?
Someone might not. Mummy and Daddy might kind of give them a big wodge of cash. I don't know.
Yeah, actually, that's a good point. I'm getting half a dad's house, so that'll be mine. It's fine. That's me sorted.
Oh, I'm not expecting anything at all.
He's been told, I don't think he's watching just now, but he has been told that if he doesn't behave himself, he'll get carted off into a home and we'll just take the house. So he knows he has to behave himself.
Sadly, the home will have to be paid for.
Yeah, I'm sure someone will take him in. We'll just stick him somewhere.
Oh, bless him.
It's a bit different in Scotland, though, as well, from England. I think it's paid, yeah.
Yeah, because over here, it's kind of whether it's care or whether it's housing, basically, I think. It's my understanding. So it's the care bit might get paid, but it's I'm not an expert, so please don't.
So this is like 20 years ago when my gran was in a home. It was all paid for. She didn't pay anything.
Okay. I think it depends.
Yeah, like it was a nursing home, so maybe because of that. Anyway, he knows he's got to be on his best behavior. So yeah, but yeah, no, I can't remember. I had a flat in my plan, and selling the business. Maybe I should put a Ferrari in or something. Aim high.
Well, you need a garage if you had a Ferrari, wouldn't you?
Yeah, actually, I don't
have
Yeah.
So you might have to have a house upgrade.
Oh no, I don't want a house. I just want a bungalow. Maybe I could deal with. I like everything on one floor.
Okay.
Yeah. That's my yeah. Don't know. Or maybe I could just save up and an enormous amount of money and get a private performance from Robbie Williams. Maybe that's the way forward.
Okay, yeah, maybe. I don't get the appeal, but
see everyone watching, that's the eyebrow I get when I say I've got an idea and I'm like, oh, she doesn't approve. That's why you're a good accountant.
Do you think Robbie would want to do it though?
Sorry?
Do you think Robbie would want to?
The money would, yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of money.
I mean, yeah, that or sponsor a Formula One car. I'd love to have my little logo on the side somewhere.
You've got a very expensive taste.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, that's why I need you to keep me in line.
Like me.
Cool. Well, no, Peter doesn't get the appeal of Robbie. Well, you wouldn't. It's fine. It's been a 20-year thing that's been going on. So one day I'll share a picture of my teenage bedroom, which was covered floor to ceiling in cutouts from magazines, like posters and all sorts. It was pretty crazy. No boy bands.
No.
I did have a poster of Chesney Hawkes on my front bedroom door as well for a while. But yeah, that was probably not a good choice. Yeah. Anyway, let's leave it on that. So thank you so much, Rebecca. That was really helpful. I will pop you backstage. And I will say thank you for watching, everybody. Next week is procurement week, so I have the one and only Daniel Barnes coming on. He's been a bit elusive recently, so it'll be great to have a catch up with him to find out how his job's going and what he's been doing. And I'm sure we'll be talking about contracts and things because he loves it. So yeah, if you have any suggestions about who you'd like to see in the den or any feedback, give me a little shout. And I hope you have a good week. I will see you on the other side of TED. Wish me luck.